Some mistakes you recover from. You stumble, you learn, you adapt, you file it under lessons learned, and you move on with your life. That's most mistakes. Then there are the other kind. The ones that leave scars, permanent marks on everything they touch, damage that doesn't fade with time, wounds that don't heal no matter how much money you throw at them or how many consultants you hire or how sincerely you apologize. Those mistakes don't teach lessons. They just hurt. Forever. Las Vegas has made 10 of those mistakes. Not errors in judgment that time will correct. Not strategic missteps that a leadership change will fix. Not problems that money can solve. Permanent, structural, irreversible. Damage to the very foundation of what made this city work. I need you to understand the difference. A mistake you can fix is raising prices too high. You realize the error, you lower them, customers come back, problem solved. A mistake you can't fix is destroying the trust that made people willing to pay those prices in the first place. Price is a number, trust is a feeling, and feelings, once broken, don't come back just because you ask nicely. That's what we're talking about today. 10 mistakes, all irreversible, all compounding, all bleeding into each other until the damage becomes something that can't be measured in quarterly reports. And number one is the reason every other mistake on this list became possible. The original sin that opened the door to everything that followed. We'll get there. But first, I need to show you the wreckage. Now before we start, I want to be clear about something. This isn't pessimism. I don't make these videos because I enjoy watching things collapse. I don't take pleasure in documenting decline. I'd much rather tell you Vegas figured it out, that the problems are temporary, that the city we all loved is coming back stronger. I can't tell you that, because it wouldn't be true. I spent months on this, months trying to find the counter-argument, the path back, the fix that makes these problems solvable. I talked to industry analysts, former executives, workers who spent decades on the strip, people who desperately want to believe there's a way out. It doesn't exist. What Vegas broke cannot be unbroken. Not with new management, not with better marketing, not with bailouts or buyouts or any of the solutions that usually get floated when an industry starts to fail. The damage is done. And if you care about understanding what's actually happening to American institutions, not just Vegas, but the pattern it represents, this is the video. Subscribe now, because this list isn't just about casinos. It's about what happens when short-term extraction replaces long-term thinking across an entire economy. Vegas is just where you can see it most clearly. Let's start. Number 10, the buffet. Close your eyes for a second. Picture it, the Vegas buffet in its prime. Mountains of shrimp glistening under heat lamps. Carving stations where men in tall white hats slice prime rib to order. Crab legs piled like treasure. Dessert tables stretching into the distance. Every cuisine you could imagine and several you couldn't. $12, sometimes less, for all of it. The Vegas buffet wasn't just food. Any city has food. Any hotel can put out a spread. The buffet was a symbol. It was the physical manifestation of everything Vegas promised. Abundance, excess, the feeling that for once in your life, you were getting more than you paid for. You walked in with $12 and you walked out stuffed, overwhelmed, carrying the pleasant weight of having experienced something that felt impossible anywhere else. That was the deal. That was the magic. For decades, the buffet was the first thing people mentioned when they talked about Vegas trips. The anchor of the experience. The proof that this city operated by different rules. Then COVID happened. Buffets closed overnight. Health concerns. Operational challenges. The usual explanations. Most never reopened. The ones that did came back different. Not different like upgraded. Different like gutted. $50 now. $60, $70 at the premium rooms. For the same food, often less of it, with none of the theatrical abundance that made it feel special. The sneeze guards went up and never came down. The mountain of shrimp became a modest hill. The feeling of impossible generosity became the feeling of paying too much for a mediocre meal. You can still eat at a Vegas buffet, but you can't experience what the Vegas buffet meant. That's gone. Here's why it can't be fixed. You can reopen a buffet. You can lower prices, you can pile up the crab legs, you can hire the carving station guys and buy the tall hats and recreate every physical element of what existed before. But you can't recreate an institution. An institution isn't infrastructure. It's not buildings and equipment and supply chains. An institution is memory, meaning. Generations of visitors who came specifically for this thing and told their friends and built traditions around it. That takes decades to create. It was destroyed in months. And here's the worst part. A whole generation of potential Vegas visitors will never know what they missed. People in their 20s right now. People who will visit Vegas for the first time in the next few years. They'll see these overpriced buffets charging $60 for reheated scrambled eggs and think that's what it always was. They won't know about the $12 mountains, the abundance, the magic. They'll just think Vegas is expensive and not worth it. And they'll be right. Because the Vegas buffet isn't coming back. The symbol is dead. The promise of more than you paid for died with it. What's left is just a restaurant with a confusing format and prices that don't match the experience. Number 10. The buffet. Gone. But the buffet was more than food. It was a promise. A handshake between Vegas and its visitors that said, we will give you more than you expect. We will overwhelm you with abundance. We will make you feel like you won something just by showing up. That promise is dead now. Killed by the same short-term thinking that shows up on every other item on this list. And it was just the beginning. Number 9 is the mistake that told every single visitor exactly how Vegas sees them now. Not as guests to be dazzled, as marks to be squeezed, and once that message gets received, once that understanding settles into the bones of everyone who books a trip, it never goes away. Number 9. Resort fees. The original sin of modern Las Vegas. Here's the trick. You search for a hotel. You find a room for $200. Reasonable. You book it. Then you check in and discover your $200 room costs $260 because there's a $45 resort fee plus tax. Non-negotiable. For what? Wi-Fi, gym access, a pool you might use once, amenities that should have been included since the invention of hotels. But the money isn't the point. The feeling is the point. You feel scammed. You feel stupid. You feel like someone looked you in the eye and lied to you. And they did. That feeling doesn't wash off. You carry it into every interaction, every restaurant bill you check twice, every drink you calculate before ordering. Every moment of your vacation colored by the suspicion that someone's trying to get one over on you. That's what resort fees created. Not revenue, suspicion. Here's why it can't be fixed. Vegas could eliminate resort fees tomorrow, make a big announcement, generate positive press. Wouldn't matter, because you can't eliminate memory. The visitors who got hit with hidden charges, who felt that sinking feeling at checkout, who went home and told everyone they knew. They remember. They'll always remember. And they'll assume every price they see is a lie, even when it isn't. Trust takes years to build. Resort fees destroyed it in a single receipt. Number 8. Paid parking. For 50 years, parking in Las Vegas was free. 50 years. Half a century of every casino saying the same thing with their parking policy. We want you here. We'll make it easy. Just come. Then MGM started charging in 2016. Everyone else followed. $20. $30. More for valet. Just to arrive. Just to give them the privilege of taking more money inside. You know what free parking said? Welcome. You know what paid parking says? Transaction. Every interaction is transactional now. Nothing is given. Everything is extracted. Here's why it can't be fixed. Make parking free again. Go ahead. Try it. Know what happens? It looks desperate. Customers don't think generosity. They think panic. They wonder what's wrong. Why the sudden change? And they still remember when it wasn't free. Still carry that moment of realization that Vegas changed the rules. Keep parking paid. The wound stays open. Every visitor reminded every time they arrive that this city will charge them for everything. There's no winning move. The damage is structural. You can't uncharge someone for something that was free their entire lives. Number 7. Gutting loyalty programs. This one's personal. Loyalty programs were relationships. Not transactions. Relationships. You came back year after year. You gave Vegas your vacation budget, your anniversary trips, your bachelor parties. You chose this city over everywhere else in the world. And in return, Vegas remembered you. Comp rooms, free meals, upgrades, the feeling of being recognized, of mattering, of having a history with a place. That's what brought people back. Not the gambling, not the shows. The feeling of belonging somewhere. And they destroyed it. Points worth less every year. The same spending earning half the rewards. Tier status harder to achieve. Benefits quietly disappearing. The message received loud and clear. Your loyalty has no value here. I talked to a woman who visited Vegas 31 times over 15 years. Same property, same weeks every year. Knew the staff by name. She stopped coming in 2023. Not because of prices, not because of fees. Because they devalued her status. Changed the program. Made 3 decades of loyalty worth nothing overnight. She said, "They told me I didn't matter, so I left." Here's why it can't be fixed. You can rebuild a loyalty program. You cannot rebuild 31 years of relationship with someone who already decided you betrayed them. Those customers are gone. They found other vacations, other traditions, other places that made them feel valued. They're not coming back. And the program that could have kept them took 20 years to build and 2 years to destroy. Resort fees taught visitors to suspect. Paid parking taught them they're just transactions. Gutted loyalty programs taught them not to return. 3 wounds to trust. All permanent. All bleeding. But number 6 destroyed something even more fundamental. The very reason people came to Vegas in the first place. The thing that made all of it work. Number 6. Eliminating accessible gambling. Let me take you back. Picture a casino floor in 1995. The noise hits you first. That symphony of chaos. Slot machines chiming. Dice hitting felt. Chips clicking. Dealers calling cards. 1,000 small sounds blending into something that feels like electricity. You've got $60 in your pocket. That's your gambling budget, saved over a few weeks. Not a fortune, not nothing. And it's enough. You find a $5 blackjack table, sit down, play for 3 hours, win some, lose some, walk away down $20 with a story about the time you hit on 16 and pulled a 5. That was Vegas. The feeling that regular people could play. Not just watch, not just walk through, play. Sit at the same tables where the movies happened. Feel the same thrill that millionaires felt. Experience gambling as something you participated in, not something you observed. $5 blackjack made that possible. $10 tables, $2 craps, penny slots that actually let you play for pennies. That accessibility was the magic. Now find a $5 blackjack table. Go ahead, walk the strip, check every casino. You won't find one. Minimums start at 25 now, often 50, sometimes 100, for the same game, the same cards, the same experience. Except it's not the same experience. Because at $50 a hand, that $60 gambling budget lasts exactly 1 hand, maybe 2. That's not playing. That's spectating with expensive tickets. The middle class has been priced off the casino floor. They can still walk through, still hear the sounds, still see other people gambling, but they can't sit down, they can't play. And playing was the whole point. Here's why it can't be fixed. Vegas could bring back $5 tables tomorrow. Roll them out, make announcements, welcome the masses back. It wouldn't matter, because the masses aren't waiting. The people who got priced out didn't stand outside the velvet rope hoping to be let back in. They didn't pause their lives waiting for Vegas to become affordable again. They found other hobbies, other vacations, other ways to spend that $60 that didn't make them feel like outsiders in a place that used to welcome them. They learned to live without Vegas, and learning to live without something is the first step to never needing it again. The tables could go back to $5. The customers won't go back to Vegas. They've already moved on. Number 5, destroying service culture. This one cuts deep because it's about people, not policies, not pricing strategies, people. The cocktail waitress who remembered your drink, who spotted you across the floor and had it ready before you sat down. The dealer who knew your name, who chatted with you like an old friend, who made losing $20 feel like an evening well spent. The housekeeper who left your room feeling like a sanctuary, who arranged the pillows just so, who made minimum wage feel like craftsmanship. The front desk agent who upgraded you just because, who saw your anniversary reservation and put champagne in the room, who made you feel like a VIP on a budget. Those people made Vegas. Not the buildings, not the lights, the people. And they're gone. 30% staffing cut since 2019. 30%. Veteran workers pushed out. Replaced with skeleton crews. Replaced with nobody at all. The woman who spent 20 years learning every regular's name? Gone. Her position eliminated. The bartender, who could make any drink from memory, gone, too expensive. The floor manager who could read a room and know exactly when someone needed attention, gone, restructured out. Institutional knowledge walking out the door, decades of expertise vanishing, the culture they carried disappearing with them. What's left are the survivors. Overworked, undertrained, stretched across jobs that used to require 3 people. They're not bad employees. They're drowning employees, trying to cover twice the ground with half the resources and knowing they'll be blamed when things fall through the cracks. Here's why it can't be fixed. You can hire new workers. You cannot hire 30 years of experience. The old guard didn't just know their jobs. They knew the guests, the rhythms, the 1,000 small touches that turn a hotel stay into an experience. That knowledge isn't in a training manual. It lived in people. People who are now bartending in Phoenix, managing restaurants in Texas, working anywhere except Vegas because Vegas told them they weren't worth keeping. They're not coming back. And the culture they carried, that's not something you can rebuild with a hiring push and a training program. Culture takes decades to grow. It was destroyed in budget meetings. The accessible games that let regular people feel special, gone. The service culture that made them feel valued, gone. 2 more wounds, both permanent. But number 4 is the mistake that guarantees none of this can ever be rebuilt. Even if they wanted to, even if new leadership came in tomorrow with the best intentions and unlimited motivation, it wouldn't matter because the cage is already built and there's no key. Number 4, $60 billion in debt. I've talked about this before, but I need you to understand what it means in the context of this list. Every mistake we've discussed, the buffets, the fees, the parking, the loyalty programs, the table minimums, the staffing cuts. Every single one of them could theoretically be reversed. You could bring back $12 buffets. You could eliminate resort fees. You could make parking free. You could restore loyalty programs. You could lower table minimums. You could hire back the workers. All of it is possible. In theory, in practice, $60 billion says no, because debt doesn't care about guest experience. Debt doesn't care about trust. Debt doesn't care about service culture or accessible gambling or anything except one thing: getting paid. The interest alone on this debt runs over $1 billion a year, just for Caesars, one company. That's $1 billion flowing out before anyone fixes anything, before anyone improves anything, before anyone addresses a single item on this list. Want to lower prices? Revenue drops. Can't pay debt. Want to improve service? Hiring costs money, can't afford it. Want to rebuild what was lost? Investment required. No budget. Every solution blocked. Every path forward closed. The debt is a cage, built during the boom years when 40 million visitors seemed guaranteed, when the middle class had money, when the future looked like endless expansion. Those days are gone. The debt remains, and it makes everything else unfixable. Not because the ideas don't exist, because the money doesn't. Every dollar that could go toward rebuilding goes to bondholders instead. Every choice between guest experience and debt service ends the same way. Debt wins. Debt always wins. Here's the thing about the debt. It didn't load itself. Someone structured those deals. Someone approved those leveraged buyouts. Someone decided that loading billions in obligations onto these companies was a good idea. Those people made money. Lots of it. Fees, dividends, golden parachutes. They extracted their share and moved on, leaving the cage behind, leaving the workers behind, leaving Vegas behind. And that same someone made the mistake at number 3. The strategic blunder that turned problems into catastrophe. The decision that sealed everything. Number 3, betting on the wealthy. Here's the strategy. The middle class is tapped out. Fine, we don't need them. We'll go upmarket. Premium pricing, premium guests, fewer visitors spending more money. The math works. On paper, in a spreadsheet, in reality, it's suicide. Let me show you why. In 2019, Vegas welcomed 42 million visitors. The vast majority were middle class. Regular people, families who saved all year, couples celebrating anniversaries, friends on annual trips. They weren't rich. They were reliable, millions of them, every year, filling every room, feeding every restaurant, funding every show. The wealthy, maybe 5%, generously. 2 million people. Now do the math. You can't replace 40 million with 2 million. Even if every wealthy tourist spends 5 times as much, 10 times as much, the volume isn't there. Vegas wasn't built for 2 million visitors. It was built for 40 million. The infrastructure, the staffing models, the debt payments, the entire economic engine of the city, all of it designed for volume that no longer exists. Here's why it can't be fixed. Vegas rebuilt itself around premium customers. The rooms got redesigned, the restaurants got repositioned, the entire experience recalibrated for guests who don't flinch at $500 nights. You can't pivot back, not quickly, not cheaply. And even if you could, the middle class isn't waiting. They found other vacations, Mexico, Europe, their own backyards. They learned that Vegas wasn't for them anymore, and they stopped dreaming about it. Number 2, burning the repeat visitors. This is the one that breaks my heart, because these were the true believers. The people who came twice a year, 3 times, who didn't need convincing, who bled neon. They knew which dealers to find, which restaurants were worth it, which shows to see, and which to skip. They were Vegas evangelists, telling friends, planning group trips, building traditions that span decades. Repeat visitors down 34%. 34% of the loyalists gone. You want to know why? Every fee hit them first. Every cut affected them most. Every hollowed experience was something they remembered being better. The first-time tourist doesn't know the buffet used to cost $12, doesn't remember when parking was free, doesn't feel the difference between the old service and the new. The repeat visitor knows everything, feels everything, notices every single thing that got worse. And they took it personally. Because it was personal. They gave Vegas their loyalty. Vegas gave them resort fees. Here's why it can't be fixed. A repeat visitor isn't a transaction. It's a relationship. And you can't repair a relationship with someone who already decided you're not worth it. These people didn't leave because of money. They left because of betrayal. Because the place they loved told them they didn't matter. That wound doesn't heal. The wealthy can't replace the middle class. The loyalists won't forgive the betrayal. Vegas burned both ends and called it strategy. But every mistake on this list had decision makers. People in rooms who saw the data, who knew the consequences, who understood exactly what they were destroying, and did it anyway. Why? Why make decisions that clearly destroy long-term value? Why hollow out the very thing you depend on? Why sacrifice decades of trust for 1 quarter's bonus? The answer is number 1, the original sin. The unfixable mistake that made every other mistake inevitable. Number 1, short-term ownership. Not short-term thinking. Ownership. There's a difference. Short-term thinking is a mindset, a bad habit, something that can be changed with better leadership, better incentives, a wake-up call. Short-term ownership is a structure, a system, a machine that produces the same outcomes no matter who's running it. Let me show you how it works. A private equity firm buys a casino company. They don't use their own money. They use debt, billions of it, loaded onto the company they just purchased. The company now owes money it never borrowed for a purchase it never made. To buyers who already took their cut, the executives who run the company, 3-year terms, maybe 5, their bonuses tied to quarterly performance. Their stock options vest on a schedule that ends long before any long-term consequences arrive. The board members? Appointed by the private equity owners. Incentivized to maximize short-term returns. Gone the moment the firm sells its stake. Nobody in that room will be there when the bill comes due. Nobody. Now think about what that means. Every decision makes sense when you're not around for the fallout. Load debt, you'll be gone before the payments crush the company. Cut workers? Service collapse takes years. You'll have cashed out by then. Raise fees? Trust erosion is slow. Your bonus is fast. Gut the experience? Customer abandonment happens gradually. Your exit happens next quarter. From inside that room, extraction isn't greed. It's logic. It's the rational response to a system that rewards taking and punishes building. Why invest in something you won't own tomorrow? Why build loyalty when someone else will harvest it? Why think about 20 years from now when your entire incentive structure expires in 3? This is the original sin, the mistake that made every other mistake inevitable. The buffets didn't die because someone hated buffets. They died because maintaining them cost money today and generated goodwill tomorrow. And tomorrow wasn't anyone's problem. Resort fees didn't happen because someone wanted to destroy trust. They happened because they boosted revenue this quarter, and the trust destruction wouldn't show up until everyone responsible had moved on. Staffing cuts weren't malicious, they were mathematical. Payroll hits the bottom line immediately. Service collapse takes years. The math was obvious. The humanity was irrelevant. Every wound on this list was inflicted by rational actors operating within an irrational system. A system that made destruction profitable. A system that made building pointless. A system that guaranteed this outcome. Here's why it can't be fixed. This isn't a Vegas problem. This is American capitalism in 2025. The same structure that's killing Vegas is killing retail, killing healthcare, killing media, killing everything it touches. Private equity, quarterly earnings pressure, executive compensation tied to short-term metrics, ownership measured in months, not decades. You can change Vegas leadership tomorrow. New executives walk in, full of ideas, genuine desire to turn things around. Within 6 months, they're making the same decisions. Because the incentives are the same, because the ownership structure is the same, because the system rewards extraction and punishes patience. You can restructure the debt, new terms, new bondholders, fresh start. Within 3 years, new debt gets loaded, because the private equity model demands it, because leverage is how returns get juiced, because the playbook doesn't change just because the company name does. You can try anything, nothing works. Because nothing changes the underlying math. The math that says take what you can while you can. The math that says tomorrow isn't your problem. The math that says the house always wins, as long as you're the house and you sell before the collapse. 10 mistakes. 0 solutions. Not because no one's trying, because the structure that created them is still in place. Still rewarding the same choices. Still grinding toward the same destination. The strip is still beautiful tonight. The light's still blazing, the fountain's still dancing. From a distance, it looks like it always did, but now you know what's underneath. 10 wounds that will never heal, bleeding into each other, compounding into something terminal. The buffets, the fees, the parking, the loyalty programs, the tables, the workers, the debt, the strategy, the customers, the ownership, all connected, all permanent, all flowing from a single source. A system that made destruction the rational choice. And here's the thing that haunts me. These aren't really mistakes. Mistakes are accidents. Errors in judgment. Things you'd do differently if you knew better. Everyone who made these decisions knew better. They had the data. They saw the projections. They understood exactly what would happen. They just didn't care. Because caring wasn't incentivized. Because long-term thinking wasn't rewarded. Because the system told them to extract. And they extracted, and they took their money and left. Vegas wasn't killed by mistakes. Vegas was killed by math. The math of short-term ownership. The math of extraction. The math that says take what you can while you can because tomorrow isn't your problem. That math is still running right now, tonight, in every boardroom on the strip, making the same calculations, reaching the same conclusions, inflicting the same wounds. And there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. Not the workers who see it happening. Not the customers who feel the consequences. Not the city that depends on an industry being hollowed out. Nobody can stop it. Because the system is bigger than Vegas. Bigger than any single industry. Bigger than any reform or regulation or change in leadership. The system is American capitalism itself. And American capitalism doesn't fix itself. It just moves on. To the next company. The next industry, the next city, leaving behind the wreckage, leaving behind the workers, leaving behind everyone who wasn't fast enough or connected enough or wealthy enough to get out in time. Vegas is just the latest casualty, the most visible one, the one where you can see the damage most clearly because the lights are so bright. But it won't be the last, because the math doesn't stop, the math never stops. And somewhere right now, in a boardroom you'll never see, someone is running the same calculations on a company you love, an industry you depend on, a city you call home. 10 mistakes that can't be fixed. One system that guarantees more, and a country that still hasn't figured out what to do about it. The house always wins. That's what they told us, but they were the house, and they already sold it.